The elections are on Saturday in Abuja. We did see your former was the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, stating clearly that, you know, they've dropped, the PDP has dropped its candidate. They're going to, it's PDAPC now. So I want you to speak on what's happening from that political space, looking at the fact that INEC has 873 billion naira to spend, and yet no e-transmission as well.
Well, first, let me correct an impression.
Okay.
Onoja Ayemi said, I think it was Ayemi who said the president would have sought the advice of his minister for communication or whatever. Yes. Please, my dear sister, don't be deceived by the high blood pressure of deceptive rhetoric by the president or the sententious rhetoric of the Senate president. The president is aware this he did intentionally so that it will be used as an excuse, as a strategy. He's a seasoned politician. He's been in this country. He knows the problems with the electoral system. He's part of the problems of the electoral system. He's aware. So it was a deliberate act. So he didn't need any advice from anybody whatsoever. Our lawyer said it was an indictment, so to speak, just paraphrasing, on the president for him to have admitted that we don't have that level of broadband we need for the elections. No, the man is not bothered about indictment. Nigerians are not bothered about indictment. I bet you, majority of those in authority today have one problem, one police case or one case, one court case or the other. Most of them have even been convicted. A DIG in the Senate said that much. I even know Ambassador corroborated that. So Nigerians are not bothered about integrity. So let us not even talk about integrity. Whatever is done has been orchestrated. Let's come to the FCT now. I am not surprised. It is either that PDP, APC, whatever, PD, APC, whatever coinage, that man was either not a serious candidate, but was brought up to give some level of transparency, some level of credibility, or he has been bought over. It's as simple as that. Either of them. Or there's a third one, probably intimidated into submission. Probably he must have been told that you will never win this election, and having been a councillor or whatever he was, that being leader of the house or whatever he was, yes, you will be investigated, you will go. Don't forget that once you've defected APC, all your sins are forgiven. The former APC national chairman said so. So if you don't want the EFCC to come after you, you better step down. Because my integrity is at stake. I promised Mr. President I was going to deliver, and I must deliver. I will come after you. Either, no, what he must have been intimidated, bought over, or he was actually there initially to give some credibility to the system as if other political parties are also interested in the FCT elections. That is what must have happened there. I can tell you that. Not that if he really wanted to contest, he must have been intimidated into submission, or he would have been bought over willingly. But once I've been told that you can never win, never, and if you disobey us, we'll come after you. That is what probably would have happened there at the FCT.
Okay.
And you could see the man was confused. He said PD, AP, PD. You can see the confusion there. You know? So he was befuddled, yes. So that will tell you that something must have gone on behind the scene.
Thank you, Mr. Nkotaria. Now, Noja, before we begin to wrap up this conversation, I mean, the biggest issue which speaks to transparency and seriousness to conduct free and fair elections is the issue we've been talking about, the mandatory electronic transmission of results. But there's been a caveat to it. Now, looking at the electoral reform bills as a whole, are there any positives in the other issues, the increase in the fine for vote buying, the reduction of the time for election notice? Are there any other things that stand out for you, or are we throwing away the baby and the bathwater or does the baby deserve to be thrown away?
My position is that if there are any positives in the new Electoral Act, they are far outweighed by the negatives, to the point where, it's not worth mentioning. I mean, of course, you will say that, the nature of the punishments stipulated for electoral offenses are significant enough for, commendation. But if there is an orchestrated, I'll give you a perfect example. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, had an election petition, had an election where he was declared winner. He is in the Senate. He's the president of the Senate. But the rec for that election, the presiding officer who declared him winner of that election, if I remember correctly, has been taken to court, has been convicted, and is in jail. So, two things immediately come to fore there. On the one hand, there's been a punishment for someone who manipulated the outcome of the elections. On the other hand, the people has to live with the manipulated outcome of the elections. So, to anybody who wants to come and say to me that, we've increased the amount of punishment we give to the people who actually rigged the elections without putting in place anything any improvements to prevent that rigging in the first place, or to ensure a retrieval of that mandate, it then is hot air. It doesn't do anything for anybody. It simply doesn't. I think it was former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan who said how we had to take the goat away from the yam, for the yam away from the goat. We needed an electoral amendment that ensured or that made it really difficult, next to impossible, to rig the elections in the first place. The thing about punishing riggers thereafter, or about efforts to retrieve the mandate, all are secondary. They're all secondary. Allied to that, like I say, we still retained the presumption of regularity in favor of the electoral umpire. We've increased the amount of campaign spending for president across all spectrums of the election, which were rather restricted before. I mean, we all knew that we spent more money than the Electoral Act provided, but we've increased that to ensure that now already monetized the elections will be worse. Monetization will be far worse now. I'm hard pressed to see any positives from this electoral. A reform is supposed to change the lay of the land significantly. It is supposed to identify loopholes and then plug those loopholes. This is if you put a lipstick on a pig, it is still a pig. This is a weak attempt at putting a lipstick on a pig.
That's a rather tough one. But one thing I also like for us to look at is the IREV. Now, let me state this clearly. Hopefully, in turn, we'll also get the video up. Before the 2023 elections, the then INEC boss, now an ambassador, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, in an interview with the BBC, made it clear and expressed confidence in the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS. He also expressed confidence in electronic transmission of results. He said it's going to work, that it doesn't need the internet, in quotes, to work. Rather, if there's no network, if you move to where there's network, it automatically, updates itself. Much more like what some members, WhatsApp, some members in the House of Rep had said that if you send a message, if there's no network, once you get to a network area, it automatically delivers the message on time. Having seen a former INEC boss express full confidence, but turned out to, in quotes, mention the glitch and woefully failed in delivering that belief and to the extent of the law. Adamaleku, I don't know. Do you also think that maybe ahead of 2027, will there be glitches, maybe network failure, maybe some of the plants wouldn't be able to stand at that time? I'm just trying to find the right words to use so that we can be contextual.
I mean, just to respond to the special advisor, I didn't say he cared. I'm just saying that it shows the fact that he was lying. I was very clear in my statement. It's not I said if it was really true and he was really interested in delivering a bill or an act that makes sense, then you would have consulted INEC, gotten NCC to give you data, looked at the results, the upload results from the previous elections, spoken to your Minister of Communication, and you'll have done that rather than sign a bill hurriedly in less than 24 hours because, as we know, the outcome was predetermined. I was very clear. I'm not mistaken or deluded in any way, shape, or form that he cares. And to Onoja's point as well, I said the same thing, that it's for him to boldly talk about it. My opening comment was that he was laughing like a child in a candy store. He had a very sly smile on his face because he got what he wanted, not because he cared about process. But we are working towards an answer, i.e. a very poorly executed 2027 elections. Now, to your point, this year, I'm not sure about by-elections, but at least we have FCT on Saturday, then Ekiti and Osun also have elections. Now, it will be very interesting. And so back to the former chairman's point. INEC laid the foundation very clearly that they had the technology, they had tested it, it worked, and the numbers were there. As I said again, Osun was 100%, Ondo was 98%.
Sorry to butt in. I just want us to watch that video so that it adds to the context of what we're saying. You know, that video which clearly states the former
Professor
INEC
Mahmoud
boss.
Jagger.
Yes,
No,
yes. No.
Oh, sorry, Mahmoud
Yakubu.
Yakubu.
During the BBC interview where he had mentioned that. Let's hope that. All right.
Reasonably. So we are happy with the pilot that we have conducted, and we are reasonably confident in the strength of the processes.
I mean, even in rural areas.
The machine on election day doesn't rely on the internet to accredit voters. It works offline. Now, when it comes to transmission of results, that's where you need network. But if there is no network in the immediate vicinity, the scanned image of the polling unit level results, which is taken using the beavers, will be transmitted as soon as the staff move from the polling units to the collection centers. And we have been working with the major telecom companies in Nigeria, and we are satisfied that the number of blind spots can be addressed in the country, and the number of blind spots where you have no network is really...
All right.
So the last word he said as we faded, he said the number of blind spots that were identified in the country is negligible. And so for INEC to have piloted, modeled, rolled out, and have full confidence that it would work, yes, then there was the glitch, yes, there's the compromise of what happened, does not negate that the technology works. Look, banks don't come out and tell you how many billions get siphoned from their accounts because people hack into their systems. It happens. But it's a provision that they keep working on to improve loopholes. Technology is not perfect. There's nobody that's advocating for real-time transmission that says it's foolproof. But as Onoja and I both say, between polling units and ward, and we've seen the mutilated sheets, is where these things happen. So we're saying, let's take a picture, so we have a picture so we can see. That doesn't negate party agents from also having their own forms, but we've also heard people being beaten, people being paid off, people being intimidated to turn over their papers because they will be manipulated. These things are facts, they're not speculation. So INEC also understanding and wanting to improve the process is why they did that. So to your question, now, if we look at Abuja this weekend, Ekiti and Osun, and what might then possibly transpire into what will be determined as failure. Because what the loophole is that they've allowed, and as I keep saying, they've legislated failure. So all you have to do is just say that it did not work, it did not work. Now, while we're trying to get the law amended, it's also for citizens to begin to think around. I mean, I actually decided that on this show this morning, I wasn't going to spend time thinking about what to do because we must get that law amended. National Assembly members must be told that they work for Nigerians. And to be honest, I believe it because there are 469 of them. We have their numbers, we have their email addresses, we have their house addresses. Then you see their wife in the market or at a wedding, you go and meet Madam. Like, Madam, how far? That's your husband in the House of Rep. That thing that they did, it's not quite working. What are you thinking? Their children are in schools, in the abroad, in the local. We pull them. I say, Madam, yeah, it's 2 years, level 2 years, I mean, what is it? second-year student here. You see how things work and things are in order as you stroll campus. If we don't have free and fair elections, it will hurt smaller. What do you think? Look, if we don't make these people feel uncomfortable and realize that they work for us, then it is, and as one of the gentlemen said, how did he say, the tyranny of using the law. He framed it very nicely, but basically just saying that if you use the law to tie our hands, we must untie our own hands with that same law. But the only way to do that is to make the people who make the law slightly uncomfortable.
Thank you very much. Onoja, just before we wrap things up, I mean, given that this law has been passed, Yemi is very hopeful that, you could still get it amended. But looking at the present-day realities and that we have off-cycle elections coming up, what can Nigerians do? What can ordinary Nigerians do? Learning from the mistakes and also the strategy of those who try to truncate the electoral process. What safeguards are there for them to ensure that truly these elections count and their votes really count?
I think that there are two things that are going to happen with these elections, these off-cycle elections. Two things are going to happen with them. On the one hand, and I've never hidden my party affiliations, they're very well known. On the one hand, the APC is going to try to use these off-cycle elections as test cases to perfect their attempts to rig the elections. I mean, they started this with the Edo State elections, where there's verifiable evidence to show that more than one set of results were printed and were then used. Also more than one set of result sheets were printed. And at the polling unit stage, they filled in, at the ward coordination stage, they filled in quite a number of results that were substantially different from what was declared at the results at the polling units. We also see that they will test it. We will also see that they will test and tell us whether or not e-transmission is working and give us use cases for why they have to rely on manual transmission of results. But the Nigerian people also have to use those elections to test our resistance to any attempts to rig the elections. And this attempts by anybody, it is best for us to win your elections at the poll. Let them be a reflection of popularity. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. If you're able to go there, win properly, rather than by this. So it doesn't really matter to me who wins. As long as the processes are right, and we are sure that the results are a reflection of the will of the people. So Nigerians have to go to the elections and these off-cycle elections and use them as well to say, we're going to try to stamp our will and to ensure that the results that are then announced are a reflection of our will. That cat and mouse has to be played, unfortunately. We've been put in a place where we have to play that game, and it isn't a game, seeing as it affects the lives, welfare, and well-being of so many people. It isn't a game, but we have to go to the field and also find ways to resist attempts to snatch, grab, and run away with elections. Yemi, my dear friend, I wish I shared your optimism that we are going to be able to get the Electoral Act amended. I really, truly wish I shared your optimism, but I've become very cynical. I do not believe that the APC at its core is capable of doing anything good. I do not believe that the APC at its core has the intention for the betterment and welfare of the Nigerian people. I believe that controlling, I'll leave it at that.
Just to wrap things up, let me come to you, Mr. Nkotaria. I could see your smiles. What do you make of the House of Reps 360 or 180 turn after they agreed in December 2025 to mandatory, and they made that quick turn? I'm sure you saw the videos of even when many were calling, stop, let's take it one by one.
I
The
think we
deputy
have a video
speaker,
of the speaker, Tajuddin
You
Abbas.
can't so don't worry, I watched it.
he
Don't
said
worry,
it's fine and all that. What do you make of that?
They recanted because, of course, there was a closed door meeting for them to rescind that decision. Most of them would have also been warned that they will not come back. I'm not talking of re-election. I'm talking of they will not be brought back because most of them wouldn't have been elected, wouldn't have been there in the first place. So they must have told that without that proviso, then you don't have the chances of coming back to the assembly. But let me quickly say this to my sister in the studio. It will be highly ambitious to think that they will amend the Electoral Act. I mean, that will be batting on a sticky wicket. They will never. And if you think you can, through their siblings, through their sons, through their children, or whatever, convince, like you said, you meet the wife in the market, you meet, those are beneficiaries of the fraudulent acts. And even when they go back home to talk to their fathers, their husbands, and so on, the question they will ask is, are you for me coming back so that you will continue to enjoy the fruits of the crime, or you want us to do things the proper way and suffer? And definitely most people will tell you, no, if that is the case, continue. You don't want to go again, you don't want to go on the private jet, you don't want to go to Yale, you don't want to do this. Yes. How do you think we make this money? That is the question they will ask. So don't think that their siblings, their relations, or whatever will convince them to do otherwise. No, not at all. Then second, again, let me say this, but this is like a warning to our leaders, our rulers. I don't want to call them leaders because leaders are elected, our rulers. You see, our political engine is overheated. Social climate exceedingly inflammatory. And economic atmosphere highly combustible. We are headed slowly but steadily for a rendezvous with anarchy. Yeah. For when conscienceless power means powerless conscience, the former lasts first, but the latter lasts last. We have to be very careful. We have to be extremely careful with whatever we are doing. We should not take Nigerians for granted. When a man is pushed to the wall, he bounces back with redoubled effort. And it becomes very, 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 very dangerous, because it's a time for survival. And that is what I see very soon in this country.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen and lady. Just to allow Adamaleko with the final words, just 20 seconds, because we need to go on the break.
Both of them were responding to me. And I agree, you are quite okay to disagree with me. But I stand here as an active citizen, and this is the whole essence of a democracy. If I, as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, cannot believe that with other citizens that we can get the people that we elect to serve us to do what we want for the betterment of Nigeria, so then what's the point? Then we come on air and we speak English and we say this and that. And the special advisor, you just affirmed what I'm saying. You said a lot of words, I missed it, sounded good, but around combustion is unstable, we should be careful. That's the very same thing I'm saying. If I meet a wife or a child in the market, what it communicates and what it should communicate to them, quite frankly, is fear. It's fear that what your father is doing is affecting yourself and your well-being. So all this thing that you're saying about combustible is unstable, we're saying the same thing. But I will land with this. If as citizens of the Federal Republic, we ever get to the point where we lose the belief that we have the power in a democracy to get the people that we elect in office to work for us, then what the hell is the point? We might as well just know that we are in a, dictatorship, tyrannical, whatever English we want to use, then it is not a democracy. But we cannot continue to say that democracy is under fire, is under threat, and and we're not reminding citizens of the fundamental power they have within a democracy. I rest my case.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
I agree with you. Yes, power to the people, not PDP.
That's all we have.
PDAPC now. Power, progress, renewed hope, something.
That's all we have. Thank you so much, gentlemen, and thank you so much for being here.